They're little, come in all sorts of colors, and they're here to help.
The Munchkins from Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, but no, not really. I actually meant wire ferrules.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that too. Tell you what, follow us over the rainbow to learn all about these helpful little products. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Karen. Today we're going deep into the world of wire ferrules, what they are, why they're used, how they're used, and so much more. So let's get into it. Jeremy, can you start us off? What exactly is a ferrule?
Sure. A ferrule is a tin-plated copper tube that is used with stranded wire. It can come with or without colored nylon hoods and is applied to the end of a conductor where the insulation has been stripped off.
Yeah, now ferrules are relatively simple, but they give you some very significant advantages. When stranded wires are stripped of their insulation, the individual strands can be compromised. Strands might become loose or frayed, and depending on the quality of the strip process, can even be severed. Using ferrules properly ensures a solid and airtight connection and strengthens stranded wire bundles.
Yeah, like Karen said, ferrules eliminate stray strands while providing a safe and durable connection that ensures long-term electrical performance. This means that ferrules can safeguard the connection from corrosion and vibration, both of which are big concerns in industries like mining and chemical processing.
Wow, they really are helpful little things.
Ferrules also make installation and rewiring easier. For example, when building a control panel, wires can be landed incorrectly. Then, those wires must be removed and reinserted into the correct location. All of that can cause wear and tear on the fine strands of the wire. But then, when the end is dressed in a wire ferrule, the potential damage to the fine strands is eliminated.
Great stuff, Jeremy. Now, let's take an even closer look at these little guys. Ferrules come in many sizes to accommodate different wire or cable sizes, ranging from 250 MCM to 28 AWG. On top of that, they come in several forms: insulated, uninsulated, single-barreled, and twin-barreled. Insulated ferrules have a colored nylon jacket attached to the tin-plated barrel. This can help you visually identify wire size in the cabinet. In turn, uninsulated ferrules are simply the tin-plated barrel without a jacket. Single ferrules are for use with one wire, and twin ferrules are for use when simultaneously combining two wires. And finally, all of these ferrules can be packaged in various ways: loose, stripped, and reeled.
You're right, Karen. Variety, yeah, it really is the spice of life in the world of ferrules. But in lower voltage cabinets, you tend to have a lot of 14, 16, and 18 gauge wire being used. In turn, you tend to see blue, black, and red ferrules used for those corresponding wire gauges. Blue for 14 gauge, black for 16 gauge, and red for 18. Now keep in mind though, this isn't necessarily industry standard. Ultimately, the choice of ferrule color, it's up to the end user.
So how do you know which ferrules to use? As you might guess, even more important than the color and style is the size of the wires you are using. Wire size is usually measured in AWG, MCM, or simply by the diameter of the conductor. And you can easily find this information on the conductor itself or on its packaging. Then you select your ferrule accordingly by using a chart, as you see here. The key takeaway is that you have to choose the right size ferrule to have a solid, gas-tight connection. So wire size is very important to keep in mind. Another not so obvious but still important thing is that not all ferrule manufacturers are equal. Different manufacturers use different methods of producing ferrules, but one very important step in manufacturing a quality ferrule is called annealing. It's fancy.
Big word.
In simple terms, annealing is when the metal used for the barrel is heated and then allowed to slowly cool.
That's right. This process of annealing alters the physical and chemical properties of the metal barrel, toughening it and allowing the ferrule to be crimped without breaking. We'll get to crimping in a moment, but for now, know that when any part of the annealing process is skipped to speed up manufacturing, The result is a weaker ferrule that can crack when crimped onto the wire, or even at a future date when the wire is moved or touched within the cabinet.
Who knew so much thought in engineering would go into something so simple?
Yeah, I know, I certainly didn't. But it's amazing, isn't it? I guess these little things, they really do mean a lot, don't they?
They do.
So look, we've talked a lot about these little guys, but a ferrule really isn't anything without his partner, the wire. So let's get these two together.
That's true, but first you have to prep the wire, and there are a few key things to remember. For a best practice, a conductor must be first cut to length, and the insulation must be cut flush. A sharp, proper cutting tool should be used to prevent a jagged cut on the insulation. The next step is to remove the insulation. This is a very important step, as caution should be taken not to damage the individual strands underneath. Pro tip: it's only necessary to remove the length of insulation required by the ferrule. Removing too much will result in an extra step of cutting the excess once the ferrule is applied. Removing too little will compromise the airtight corrosion resistance of the connection. The strands should completely fill the ferrule's barrel and protrude no more than 1/2 millimeter from the end of the barrel.
Wow, well, way to be thorough, Karen.
Thanks, Jeremy. That's what I do.
Well, luckily, to help with all that, you can use a wire stripper like this that allows you to adjust the strip length of the wire. Just set the length by moving the slider, place your wire against it, squeeze, and voila, the perfect strip length. Now, with the insulation cut back, it's time to add the ferrule. Simply slide it on, pushing it over the conductor, and then crimp into place, just like this. And there you go, a properly ferruled wire.
You're really proud of yourself, aren't you, Jeremy?
Yes, I am. Very proud, Karen, thanks. Now, just like ferrules, there are tons and tons of options when it comes to applying a crimp. We'll save those details for a future episode, but for now, just understand that it ultimately depends upon user preference.
Okay, so we've talked about what they are, why they're used, and how to use them. Now, let's end with one final point that often comes up when talking about ferrules: UL approval.
Sure.
The question that comes up is, are ferrules UL listed? And the simplest explanation is this: ferrules by themselves are not UL listed. The UL listing you may hear about is based on a combination of the ferrule plus the crimping tool. In other words, what UL tests is a manufacturer's ferrules used with that same manufacturer's crimping tool, and it either passes or fails them. If passed, that combination of ferrule and tool is then UL listed.
Yeah, now that gets a little confusing, but listen, it breaks down like this. Because of the testing requirements and process, mixing manufacturers is not permitted. Ferrules from manufacturer A cannot be crimped by manufacturer B's crimpers and still have UL, regardless of whether or not both manufacturers carry UL on those individual components.
Right, so just remember it's the combination of the tool and the ferrule that gets a UL listing.
Ah, those combinations, like peas and carrots.
Wow, I don't really think anybody's gonna get that reference.
Ah, but you did. Anyway, that wraps up this episode. So barrel over to the like button and show us some love. You know, get it? Barrel, ferrule, munchkins, lollipop kids.
Wow.
It's all good.
Those puns are really crimping your style, Jeremy.
Nah, I see what you did there. Bye, everyone. See you next time.